The following is an exclusive presentation of the NCCU Sports Network.
North Carolina Central is going to be picked up and knocked for by Tim Daniel. Picked up now by C.J. Moore. C.J. Moore, no one even.
This is Eagle Talk on the NCCU Sports Network. Here's your host, Chris Hooks.
Hello, Eagle fans. Welcome to another edition of Eagle Talk. I'm Chris Hooks, the play-by-play voice here at North Carolina Central. On this edition of the program, we'll talk football with head coach Jerry Mack to preview the matchup against Savannah State. We'll also hear from head coach LeVelle Moton as he'll preview the 2014-15 season here at NCCU, as that's right around the corner as well. Be sure to get your season tickets for basketball by checking out www.nccueaglepride.com. Again, 26 games this year between the men and the women for just $100. We'll have promos coming out for that as well as the season gets closer. Again, joining us here in the first segment of the program, head coach Jerry Mack of the football program. Coach, let's go ahead and talk about last week. It's one of those contests that I know you got to be just at this point looking back and saying, what could you have done differently? Because, again, Morgan State's a good ball club, but we handled them very well through about, 54 minutes and change, so to speak?
Well, you got to play complete four quarters, and that's what we didn't do. It's not going to take – it takes 100% effort, not 95% effort, and that's one thing we're trying to get our young men to learn, and we continue to press that and stress that each and every day. But, we just didn't close the ball game the way we should have.
And it's one of those things, there's decisions here, you can always go back and second guess, but again, it all comes down to execution, There's a 3rd and 4 where we didn't execute. There's a field goal we didn't execute. There's 2 field goals earlier that we missed that we didn't execute. But again, just talk about the play of our team. For the most part, played really well and really showed some growth. You got some other receivers involved offensively. Defense held one of the top running backs in the nation in check. I don't think even got close to his average. Talk about that.
Well, we did some good things throughout the game, and it was no one phase of the game that was a breakdown. I think every position, from top to bottom, every coach is responsible for the loss, and you can see those breakdowns in certain situations. We have to do a better job as coaches as getting our young men to understand certain situations and critical situations, and also understand when you have that opportunity to close the game, you have to close the game. There were several times throughout the course of the game I thought we could have put ourselves in a position to separate from that team, and we did not do that. And at the end, it kind of caught up with us.
Yeah, and that had to be a tough thing to swallow because, again, it's one of those situations, 17-7, driving to really put them away. I think if we get a touchdown on that drive instead of a field goal, that's ball game because there's no way they would have scored 17 points with the way they were moving the football against us in that short a time span. Now, 14 is a different story. That's just 2 touchdowns. And, again, I know you had to be disappointed in that. When you look back at the film, what did you see that we did well against Morgan State?
I thought we moved the chains extremely well on the offense side of the ball. I think we had over 400 yards of offense. Malcolm was, again, over 60% of completing the ball. We executed almost 90 plays, close to 90 plays on the offense side of the ball, which means that we were playing at a high tempo, which is always good. On the defense side of the football, we did a better job of getting them off the field on 3rd down. Before that last drive or 2, they only completed 2 passes going in that last drive. So our secondary play, they did some things extremely well too. And, one of the goals was to stop the leading rusher in the conference, and we were able to do that. So there were some highlights and some good things of the game.
But, it's one of those things you move on. And let's look like an overview. At this point of the year, you have the number 1 offense in the MEAC, number 2 in passing. I mean, you just look at the improvement in rushing you look for last year's numbers and look to this year. I mean, the improvement is there. So, again, the formula you have put together here in your first year after 7 games is very solid. And you look at that, and it has to show you that, hey, we're doing the right things. We're going in the right direction.
I think we are heading in the right direction, but it is extremely disappointing when we can't get over the hump and close and finish a team like that. And that's one thing that we got to continue to improve on, and we're stressing that each and every week to try to close teams and finish teams. Although statistically we're a lot better, statistics don't win football games.
Yeah, and I think in that ball game against Morgan, and you can talk about just as a whole, it looked like we were inside the 30, I think 6 times, and only got a touchdown once or twice. But when you look at overall, it looks like we're getting in the red zone. It's finishing there. That's been a problem this year. to remedy that, is it something that could be really fixed, easily fixed, or is it there's some things that you're working on to try to? I don't think you have to go the Pittsburgh Steeler route, have to do the reverse pass and all that type situation like the other night. But what do you think that can fix us here in the red zone?
Well, I think more emphasis on in practice, obviously. That's where it all starts at. But also, to the attention to detail more. We have to do a better job of game planning. And that's where it comes down to. A lot of games are, if you can get in the red zone and score points, touchdowns especially, that's where you have to do a lot of your game planning. So it's going to be more hours dedicated to game planning the red zone offense.
If you talk about that last touchdown to Quentin Atkinson, that play looked eerily familiar from the one at Towson where Malcolm Bell was unable to finish the play, made a bad read. This time, under pressure, under duress, threw it in the end zone to Quentin Atkinson. Talk about just the growth of Malcolm.
It's just continue to get better. A couple of times during the course of the football game where he should have pulled the ball as opposed to giving the football. So, we got to clean those things up with him. But once again, he did a great job of controlling our offense and moving the ball up and down the field. He grew from that play against Townsend. It was basically the same play except we changed it. We were going to boot to the field or the boundary. So, he was able to, take that mistake and grow from it and throw a touchdown.
Again, defensively, talk about the good things that came out of that ball game against Morgan State. You look at players that really stepped up. Jeremy Thompson came to mind. Theo Livingston came to mind. Jaquan Smith had some plays left and right. Was there anyone else that you were impressed with in that ball game?
Really impressed, like you said, with Jaquan, and Felix did a great job too. He played with a lot of effort. Felix always comes and plays with high energy to the table. He did it again. Jeremy again, was active and moved all around the field.
Let's look at Savannah State. It's one of those games that you could certainly call a trap game. They come in winless on the year. They're as numbers concerned, they're in the bottom part of the FCS in a lot of things, offense, defense, and everything concerned with that. It's kind of a situation here where we could really be in trouble if we don't take them the right way, because again, they're a well-coached ball club. They're up and coming. They're very young. Just talk about Savannah State and just the task ahead.
Well, what you see on Savannah every week is a team that's continued to fight. They've been in games. They've had chances to win football games. They just haven't been able to get over the hump. They can't get out their own way at certain times. So they're going to be a hungry football team coming in here. I'm sure they watched the film last week and they say, well, I think North Carolina Central may be down a little bit, but we're going to come to prepared to play, and what we're going to do is control ourselves. We're not so much worried about statistically where Savannah sits or where they don't sit. We're just concerned about we have to do the best job North Carolina Central football team can do.
Yeah, the last time they came into Durham, they beat us 33-30, and they had a 99-yard touchdown, and it was one of their few wins in the last few years, so we better be ready to play. When you look at them on film, who steps out in your mind as far as their top players?
Their entire secondary, and they're one of the top in the conference right now. And I think they almost lead the league in interceptions. So they're very active ball hawks on the secondary, and they're doing a great job of picking the ball off.
For you, where do we get better? Where are you looking for us to get better offensively and then defensively?
Red zone offense and our kicking game has to get better. Those two parts are our emphasis this week. And on defensively, we closing games. We got to do a better job of closing games. You saw what you saw on Saturday was just a product of what kind of happened against Howard and also South Carolina State at the end of the game. Although we won them, we have to do a better job of finishing on defense.
When you look back at that Morgan State game, this being your first season as a head coach, have you been able for you just sort of to go back and maybe think about things, as far as you I know you got to be one of your hardest critics, or is there something that you look back at that Morgan State game and feel like, man, maybe I should have tried this, maybe I should have done this? Is there anything that you're kind of second guessing yourself about that maybe you learn as a first-year head coach?
Well, I got to do a good job of being more creative. We got to do a better job of being creative and doing some different things to present some different issues to the defense and offensive side of the football.
Coach, again, we wish you the best of luck as you get set to take on Savannah State here this weekend at 2 o'clock, and hopefully we're talking about moving to 3-1 in conference play.
No problem. Thanks, Chris.
That is head coach Jerry Mack here on Eagle Talk. When we return, we'll have on the head basketball coach here at North Carolina Central, LeVelle Moton. All that and more coming up right after this.
You on that grind, huh?
Just trying to be like you.
Careful what you wish for.
No, that's not negotiable. We have to make sure the contract is tight. It's in the brief. Check paragraph 5. I'm on my way out.
What are you studying?
Statistics?
I flunked that. Have a good night.
Hey, you forgot something.
No, man. That's you. Big Mac extra sauce, right?
Right.
Sometimes being deeply rooted
Thanks.
means being simply connected.
Wake up and get to Brigs Restaurants for Brigs $5.99 weekday breakfast specials. Now available from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. Just $5.99 for Brigs weekday breakfast specials. Available only at Brigs.
North Carolina Central University is one of our nation's most prized assets.
Our law school ranks 4th in the nation for clinical opportunities.
We offer cutting-edge technology in the biosciences.
We help students master their craft.
At North Carolina Central University, we are a first-choice premier institution.
Welcome back to the second segment of Eagle Talk. Joining us here is the head coach of the men's basketball team, LeVelle Moton, as we get set for the 2014-15 basketball season. Coach, first of all, thanks for joining us. I know you've been extremely busy as of late getting this team prepared. You've started practice. How are things going here in the first couple of weeks?
I got a lot of new faces, a lot of kids that's buying into the system, but right now we're just struggling to learn the system overall, how we do things, our vernacular, our terms, things of that nature. So that's all included in the process.
Do you feel like, because this is like, I guess this is the first year you've had kind of a mass exodus of players, mass exodus of experienced players. When you look at the challenge ahead, maybe you personally, do you feel like this could be maybe your biggest challenge, having to bring in 8 newcomers to this team?
I think, personally, you have to challenge yourself. I think you have to write something on that chalkboard to drive you and motivate you so it can permeate throughout the rest of your team. Every year, every day, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a struggle just to improve yourself every single day. And we're fortunate out of those 8 young men to have a group of individuals that's trying to buy in and do things the right way. They're just struggling, right now, but that's to be expected. We've been practicing for a week and a half.
Well, and again, you talk about your system is a process, and it's not an easy one to learn. Right. But when you learn it, it is extremely effective, as we can see, 50 wins in the last 2 years. Yeah. And I think you've certainly got the buy-in from the guys at this point.
Yeah, we do. And, once again, they just have to study a little more, learn how we do things. I think it was new for a lot of the guys. They were shocked with how hard we practice and how intensified, the practices and the workouts are. And, they've adjusted. So, hopefully we'll have good results in March.
Has there been anyone in particular that's kind of risen, in your opinion, as far as like, okay, this kid's going to be someone to look out for? Or is it more or less, as a group, we could be extremely talented?
Yeah, it's more or less collectively. Everyone is showing their bright spots, but we knew that when we recruited them. So now it's just about them turning that curve and going downhill and coasting from this point on. But, hopefully we'll see some good results in the near future.
You put it on KJ and Jordan to really be leaders on this team. How have they kind of reacted to that?
They've been good so far. It's newfound territory for them, and we're having meetings, constantly about how they can improve as leaders, because it's a little more difficult. It's really rare in college basketball or just basketball overall for post players to be the leaders of the team. Normally it's the point guard or, a wing or something like that. So it's a little different. They have a lot of experience, and of course Jordan was picked preseason first team and KJ third team. So they bought into the system, and they just have to, control the locker room and keep leading and inspiring.
I know sometimes you don't really buy into the preseason accolades as far as the rankings are concerned, because I mean it's all a guess anyway. It's all someone's opinion. But for you to be picked to win it again, in a way, it has to be a good thing. I mean, it's a good thing obviously, but in a way, it has to be a really good thing to show you. You got here in 2009, what we had to 2014-15, what you've done to this program. But again, it does put the target on your back.
Yeah, without a doubt. I try to inform our guys of that, and those 8 new guys that's coming in. I told them that bullseye's now on their back. Like it's we went from the hunter to the hunted now, you know, and people are X marks the spot, man. They're looking at it, and it's going to be some people's Super Bowl. We knew that last year when we lost our first conference game to FAMU, and probably 20 feet away we could hear them celebrating, saying how they're going to party tonight and so on and so forth. So we knew right then that our program had catapulted itself to a level in which everyone wants to knock you down.
It seems like you've done a great job here early on, kind of holding things off, because again, last year was an exceptionally special season. It was a historic season.
Right.
Who's to say now that this year may be the same as well? But I think you've done a good job by saying this is a totally different team. We don't have Poobie has moved on, Jeremy has moved on.
Yeah.
Same thing with Alfonso and so on and so forth. But this is a different team. They have different things to play for, and I guess that's a really good way to go about it.
Without a doubt, this team has to create their own legacy. They can't live off the accomplishments of Poob and Jerm and Alfonso and, you know, those guys. They have to create their own legacy, and the fact of the matter is Poobie and Jerm and the rest of those guys pass those guys a baton, and they can't drop it. And I told them, look, y'all received the keys to a Porsche. It's your job not to crash it and bring it back to its rightful owner the same way they gave it to you, with a full tank of gas as well. So that's the analogy that we use. Don't bring this back on E. We're going to have some problems, man. So hopefully, you know, the seed can get planted, and it'll sink in, and they'll understand what we're trying to accomplish.
To me, it's amazing to see the growth, you as a coach and as a program. But when you have the chance this summer to sit back and reflect over the last few years, 50 wins, and what you've been able to accomplish, you know, I know you have to be pretty excited about that. But then again, the future, you look at the guys you brought in, you're not getting those guys 5 years ago.
Right, without a doubt. And so I told our team, you know, I brought in Tremaine Holloway last year, and, you know, Tremaine was here. He was a part of the inception of you know, us making that transition from D2 to D1. And I told them that this guy was just a valuable part of, you know, your accomplishments in this championship than Poobie and Jerm and the rest of those guys, because he went out there on the front line and took those bullets when it wasn't popular. And, you know, so hats off to him. So I just try to breed that respect within the program, and we're getting a little better basketball player in our program, but so is everyone else. So it all balances itself out anyway.
I tell you what, and you pride yourself as far as scheduling goes to really challenging the guys, and I think we're really going to see our medal early in this schedule. I mean, you look at the schedule from November to about mid-December. I mean, it's brutal, Coach.
Yeah, it is. But it's always been that way. You know, my philosophy is pretty simple. I play anybody, anywhere, anytime, as long as it just makes sense. And, you know, the thing about your program elevating to the next level, scheduling becomes more and more difficult. You know, no one returns emails anymore, no one returns text messages, no one returns phone calls about scheduling, and, you know, that really puts us in the bind. So we have to go out there and play the powerhouses of the world, and, you know, I don't mind doing that, because it lets us know our strengths and weaknesses early on instead of having a false illusion about ourselves. So needless to say, we opened up with Carolina. I think they're a top 5 team in the country, and I think it'll be on national TV, so we'll see right away who we are.
Yeah, then you got Cincinnati, Creighton, then you go down to a tournament in Florida, then you come back with a game against Maryland. I mean,
wow.
And so certainly we're going to get our frequent flyer miles in the next few months. But again, it's got to be exciting for you to get back to it here in your 6th season here at North Carolina Central.
Yeah, you know, it's this time. The summer goes by so fast that, you know, before you know it, you having practice plans once again, and making sure the kids are going to study hall and making sure they're receiving the proper grades and treatment and workouts, and, you know, it's all catastrophic at this point. So we back.
As a former player, you know, someone in the Hall of Fame, to come back here and see this success. I mean, you were successful during your career, but to see this success now, what does that really mean to you?
You know, to be honest, I've never reflected on it. I never think about yesterday. That's the problem with me, I guess. I never sit back and smell the roses. My wife would beg to differ. She would prefer that I do it so we can go on vacations and, you know, live it up a little bit more. But I'm always looking forward to the next thing. There's a quote that if what you did yesterday still seems big, then you haven't done much. You know, so I try to live by that and just not get caught up in the statistics and the past, because the past is the past, and I try to relay the same things to our young men, you know.
Well, speaking of the family, how is the family doing?
They're great. My wife's birthday today. Happy birthday, sweetie. You can't miss your wife's birthday. Yeah. That's rule number one, man. I'm trying to give you some game.
Is in my mind.
I'm trying to give you some game. I'm trying to give you some game, man. Do not miss that, man. There'll be no more Eagle talk out here. So, but everybody's fine, man. I appreciate you asking.
Hey, well, Coach, we certainly appreciate the time. We'll certainly talk some more as we get closer to November 14th in the contest against Carolina. Best of luck as practice continues, and we'll talk to you as the season progresses.
Thanks, my man.
That is head coach LeVelle Moton. We'll sign off this edition of Eagle Talk right after this.
Wild Cherry. Exclusively cherry.
Define the fabric of a team. It's not selfish. It's not boastful. It's about many, sewn together to reach one common goal. But in order to win, you must learn to work together.
Why should you join Team 23?
The biggest savings.
The best selection.
The championship service.
A lifetime guarantee.
The best values.
The people.
There's only one team. Team 23.
Team 23 means your engine is guaranteed for life, free oil changes for life, and much, much more. Michael Jordan Nissan is Team 23.
Isn't it time for you to join Team 23?
Michael Jordan Nissan, 15501 north of I-40.
I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to this edition of Eagle Talk. Big thanks to all the students that helped out with today's program. Also a big thanks to Felicia Casey Hicks for all her help with today's show as well. Be sure to tune in at 1:30 on Saturday afternoon as the Eagles of North Carolina Central take on Savannah State on the gridiron as they try to move to 3-1 in MEAC play. You can check out all 14 sports and stay up to date on www.nccueaglepride.com. For everybody here in the Communications Building at North Carolina Central, we say so long, everybody.
As North Carolina Central is going to be picked up and knocked for by Tim Daniel. Picked up now by C.J. Moore. C.J. Moore, no one even.
This has been an exclusive presentation of the NCCU Sports Network.